Hey Calgary, how's the sound? Sound is good. Ready to go. All right, Calgary is tuning in. Okay, so hey Calgary, Calgary's over there. Yay. All right, so we're going to do staff intros before we do our day one lectures. So staff is going to go through, tell you about our position, and also our quirky facts. So I'm going to have to repeat mine for Calgary, even though you've heard it. So I'm Davey. I'm the education manager. A big part of my job is helping you guys move through this course. So it's very intense. So whenever you guys run into, have your questions or some tension points, you're going to reach out to me, and we're going to work through some difficulties getting you through. So my quirky fact is that my favorite time to watch movies is Sunday mornings at like 7 a.m., 8 a.m. with a coffee or a Caesar, depending on the night that I had before. Woo woo, cool.
Yeah. Cool. Hi, Calgary. You all know me. I'm Afro, admissions manager. So my time with you is actually pretty much done as of today. But it's been great getting to know you. I'll see you around. Yeah, my quirky fact is I recently found out that my left leg is longer than my right, and my right arm is longer than my left. So I'm going to see how it plays out, but this is what I recently found out.
Hi, I'm Erin. I'm the community manager. I deal mostly with community engagement, alumni engagement, sponsorships, and partnerships, and things like that, specifically for Vancouver. My quirky fact is that I actually have something called an auditory processing disorder, which makes it hard for me to hear if there's any background noise, so I actually read lips. Sometimes, not all the time, and not well if you're not. I can't also hear you. But
So not like the creepy lip readings
yeah, I can't like
technique.
watch you through a window and
Hey Vancouver, hey Calgary. My name's Remy. I'm the general manager for Western Canada. My main role here is supporting all the branch staff. So the folks that help you guys pre-boot camp, during boot camp, and after boot camp, as well as looking after some of the operations and spaces. So you guys can talk to me personally in the Vancouver space. Calgary, I'm on Slack. You can always Slack me if you have any feedback about the space or equipment or anything like that. I'm going to recycle an old quirky fact because I started doing it again, which is my weird YouTube rabbit hole thing is I like watching chiropractors crack people's backs. And there's this particular chiropractor who puts people in this thing that does not look medically sound at all. And it kind of like holds their neck and shoulders, and then he yanks their ankles, and then their just whole body cracks up the line, and it seems very satisfying. So that's my weird thing.
I'm also Sarah. I'm the community operations manager, which means I work with Erin and Kat and all the CMs across Canada. My quirky fact is ongoing, and I really love watching Disneyland YouTube videos, like reviews. I've gotten so far down the hole that I will watch like food reviews of food at Disneyland, which is mostly just hot dogs, and I'm a vegetarian. So that's what I do on my nights off.
Hi, hi Calgary and hi Vancouver. Okay, I've met most of you. My name is Vicky. I'm the education administrator at corporate. I only in the office on Mondays. I support the rest of the country. So I do your diplomas, but I also watch your attendance. So when you I know you're adults, but still this is a really intensive course. So I'm one of the ones who receive and record your attendance. So my quirky fact is I'm supposed to be a chiropractor. My dad was, and I was to take over his practice, except I really wanted to go into computer science. So I went to Waterloo, but I failed my first two courses in computer science because I couldn't type. So anyway, but since then I've got 2 degrees, a postgraduate degree and a diploma, and I've been in post-secondary education since the 80s.
All right, good morning, Vancouver and Calgary. My name is Hillary. I'm the Career Services Coordinator here at Lighthouse. So basically for Vancouver, that means I'm your go-to for the student side of Career Services. And for Calgary, it means I'm going to work with Kat quite a bit for you guys. So you'll be hearing from me later on in boot camp. So my quirky fact is that I'm like the queen of going through phases. Like I'm that person that gets really obsessed with a song or a recipe and I'll make it like 100 times or listen to the song like 100 times and then 2 months later I like hate it. I do that a lot.
Hey guys, my name is Leanne. I'm the Employer Relations and Partnerships Manager here at Lighthouse. Basically what that means is I build and maintain relationships with employers so that we can best support you when you guys are looking for your first dev job. My quirky fact would be that I'm originally from Winnipeg, and I don't know if I have this weird Winnipeg accent, but people here often stop me and ask me if I'm from Ireland. So.
Hi, everybody. I'm Charlene, so I'm the Director of Career Services, so I don't get the pleasure of working with the students in the day-to-day very much, but I will be supporting Leanne and Kat, so you might run into me, but I'm totally here and available. My background's working in tech. I worked in HR. I used to run an accelerator program. I'm pretty dialed into the community, so just because you don't get to see me in your workshops and stuff, you can still shoot me a Slack question or jump on a call with me if you want my advice. So my quirky fact is I have a theater degree, which isn't the quirky part, but because of that, when I applied to take a work-study program with the athletics department at UVic, they saw my resume and asked if I wanted to be the school's mascot and offered to pay me an extra $1 an hour. So I was Thunder, the giant Viking, at UVic, and I got to run out into the gymnasium to Thunderstruck by AC/DC, and I did it for a semester before, yeah. I got to like go in parades and like I think I cut a ribbon at some like new university wing opening. So yeah, that's the quirky part of being a theater major. Yeah.
Hi everybody, I'm Archie. I'm the marketing and admissions intern, so you've probably heard from me about your contract. And I'm also in charge of internal events, so things like demo day, which will be very important for you. And my quirky fact is that I have one flat foot and one arched foot. And so does my dad, so I think that's where I get that from. And I'll see how that works out.
Hi everyone, my name's James. I'm the in-house software developer at Lighthouse Labs, and actually a graduate of this program back in May of 2015. I did the program, I was an intern here, and then actually worked in industry for about 1.5 years. And then Lighthouse got me back here, and I've been here for almost 2 years now. My quirky fact is skiing and snowboarding is probably, or skiing when I was a kid, snowboarding now is probably one of my favorite things to do. And I've had a number of interesting injuries out of it. And I've actually been heli-evac'd off of a mountain in Golden. So, yeah, don't fall in Golden. But I'm going back there this weekend. So.
Hi everybody, my name's Kelly. I'm the education intern here, and you'll see me around a lot. I work closely with Davey and tracking student progress. You'll see me messaging you, and yeah, you'll see me around. My quirky fact is that when I was younger, I used to be obsessed with the NBA, but not just the NBA, particularly Michael Jordan. And I had a Michael Jordan tracksuit that said Jordan 23 on the back that I wore every day for like 1.5 years.
Hi everyone, I'm Mona. I actually work at DevHub. So DevHub is a community and co-working space for developers. So kind of when you leave here and are a developer, you can come work there with me. But I also manage this space, so you'll probably hear me yelling at you for not cleaning the kitchen, or you yelling at me because there's no coffee. So we'll have a nice relationship. My quirky fact is that I've never had any domestic pets like dogs, cats, nothing like that, but I had chickens when I was growing up in Iran, like straight up, they were my pets, but then they went to live on my grandpa's literal farm, and then we ate them, because that's the circle of life, so.
Hi everyone. Hi Calgary. I'm Nima. I'm one of the instructors here. So you're gonna see like way too much of me. Yeah, actually you get to see more of me later today. Fun fact about me is that I'm into embroidery. So if anybody wants to share embroidery tips or patterns, you know who to head up. Yeah. Cool. Oh, awesome. Yeah. Tell her to hit me up. That's good. Oh yeah.
I love it. Awesome. Is that all the staff? Cool. All right. We'll say goodbye to the staff. Thanks so much for sharing your facts. And if you want just a little bit of a stretch, I'm going to get settled in here. And we're going to do day one lecture. How you doing, Calgary? Give me a thumbs up if you're all good over there. Hey, Calgary, thumbs up. You still good over there? In the channel. Thumbs up in the channel. Okay. I'm going to assume they're okay. All right, so how are you guys? Good? So who's a little bit nervous? Yeah, got some hands. Good. What are you guys nervous about? Sweet. Learning new things. Yeah. What about you guys? The learning curve. Pretty intense, right? Probably heard a lot of things about us, but you can't really know what to expect coming into a bootcamp unless you've done it before. Chances are you've never done a web development bootcamp before, else you wouldn't be here. So yeah, it's a little bit scary, but this company has got a lot of padding to help support you guys move through. So I'm just going to go over my job description again and what I do. So I'm the education manager. Essentially, I oversee your progress through this course. And a big thing that I help you guys with is kind of just working with you guys to move through yourself. Probably the biggest things that will come up in the first 2 weeks especially is a lot of vulnerability in learning. Some of you might not have been in school for quite a while. Some of you might have breezed through university, breezed through high school, never really had to cram, never really had to do hard work. Then you come to boot camp, you might be at the bottom of the barrel. That brings up a lot of emotion. That brings up a lot of emotion that could get in the way of making sure that you stay on top of this intense learning curve. There's a lot of information every day, and it's a different type of philosophy, education philosophy, different type of school that you might not be used to. So the first 2 weeks are a big adjustment period, and all I ask is that you guys be vocal with me as much as possible. The more vocal you are, the more you work with me, the easier it is to push you through. If in 2 weeks you start telling me about everything that you were feeling yesterday, it's almost too late at that point because we don't have the luxury of time in boot camp. So there's nothing that I can't help you guys move through. So just make sure that you're vocal about it, and we will definitely come up with a solution. Cool. So let's just make sure I got my notes here. We did introductions. All right. So that is the Sea to Sky Highway for everybody in Calgary. Oh, I'm going to share my screen actually. And split screen, new space. There we go. Okay. So, Sea to Sky Highway, 140 kilometers an hour. What does that mean? We are going at a very fast pace in boot camp. It is very fast. And today, we're doing introductions. It seems super casual. And then, boom, you're going to start your work, and off to the races. It's going to feel like it took off without you, maybe. That's definitely very normal. But it's good to remember that it's going to feel uncomfortable probably the whole time. So one of the biggest rules that we'll get into later is trying to learn how to be comfortable feeling uncomfortable. It's not easy, and the first 2 weeks are going to be the biggest kind of tricks that will play with your own style, your own insecurities. Once you get over that, then it's just continuing. You're going to feel it again, maybe at the beginning of each week. Okay, cool. I'm used to this. It's uncomfortable, but this is what problem solving is. This is how we're going to move through problem solving. So you are, like I mentioned before, going alongside our satellite cohort. Kind Calgary, we also have one currently in Victoria. So in the West Coast, we are full up with all of our schools running right now. The Victoria cohort are in their 5th week. So they'll be presenting their midterm projects to you today. But Calgary is starting day 1 today. So you guys have a Slack channel. They also have a Slack channel. We haven't added you guys to each other's. That's on you if you'd like to, but I highly encourage it. I highly encourage that you guys network within your own cohort, but also network within Calgary as well, because these are your cohort mates and they're going to be your friends in the industry moving forward as well. So who knows, whenever you're in Calgary next, you might need them. Same with you, Calgary. You guys should join into the Vancouver cohort. It also helps for communication during lectures and stuff as well. The only difference between them and you guys is that they stream into lectures. They have their own set of mentors during the day. But they stream into the lectures. So you guys communicating to the instructor when they're posting questions also really, really helps for communication. All right. All right. So here at Lighthouse, we have 5 rules of success. These we have a lot of experience moving students through. So these are the 5 rules that kind of stand out in terms of how do I handle this new kind of philosophy? How do I handle this new way of learning, essentially? So, number 1, asking for help. The education team is made up of your instructors, your mentors, me and Kelly, and also Remy is a good support as well. So Kelly will be constantly checking in with you guys just to see how things are going. I'm going to help you guys move through imposter syndrome. We'll get into that, what that means as well. And whenever things come up, because life is still running, even though you guys are in boot camp. So things are going to come up. Make sure that you guys are communicating to me every little thing that comes up. And talking through it, it seems hard, but this is what you guys are paying for. You're asking for help. You're paying for mentorship. These questions that are ringing in your head, you could sit with for hours and hours. You've come to boot camp to speed that time up a little bit. So I'll get into what the day-to-day kind of looks like and how to ask questions, things like that. But don't be afraid to ask for help. Know that if you are the type of person that isolates yourself, that you're going to have to work a little bit harder to ask those questions. I know a lot of people think that that's a negative thing. I have to figure this out myself. I have to do this myself. And that is how you prove to yourself if you know it or not. Although you could have just saved an hour, asked a mentor, even probably gotten some perspectives that you would have never thought of on your own. So make sure that you just ask for a mentor. You guys are paying good money to be here, and that's probably one of the biggest resource pools that you guys have. So make sure that you don't hesitate to reach out. You might have to wait a little bit in the queue for a mentor to come to you. And while you're doing that, please don't hesitate to keep problem solving yourself. But when they do come, break through that fear of asking a question, be upfront, try to get as much information out of them as you can in that interaction. So number 2, put in the hours. This, you've probably been warned. You probably haven't been warned enough, and there's probably not enough times that we can let you know how much work this actually is. But it's a lot of work. It's from 9 in the morning until 9 o'clock at night is when mentorship is here for you guys. Probably in the first 2 weeks to 4 weeks, you're probably going to utilize all that time. Maybe in the second half, of course, you might be able to start going home at 7 or 8. You can even do a couple of questions from home or activities from home at that point. But for the majority, this is your new home. Calgary Edison Building will be your new home. And just get comfy and put in those long hours. You might think that we are kind of assessing you based off of, a report card of concepts that we're checking off the box. It's not so much that. We are more assessing your work ethic, your ability to learn, your ability to be a junior developer by the time that you graduate. So that is kind of the assessment that we're working on. You putting in these long hours will go a long way. Even if, you get to the point where, hey, these concepts aren't kind of digesting as fast as I thought. If you're putting in the long hours, that's all we know is what it takes to move through our program and to get to that junior developer point. So putting in your long hours. Of course, if you're here for 9 hours and you're sleeping on the couch for 8 of those hours, that's not putting in those hours, right? It's at your desk, it's attempting things, it's experimenting with things, it's talking to your peers, it's asking mentors as much as you can. Yeah. Any questions about the long hours? There is weekend work as well. You don't necessarily have to be in the space. There is a mentorship shift for 4 hours on Saturday and sometimes on Sunday, depending on the weekend. So you're welcome to work out of the space, and some people just work better out of the space than working from home. So you're got 24-hour access here if you want it. And there is weekend homework that you have to get done. Yeah. So the question was, what time is the Saturday shift? And that changes per weekend. Kelly posts every Friday who's going to be in the space for the weekend and the shift. Cool. So pinned to your Slack channel later today is this email address. It'll get pinned in Calgary as well. I need you guys to communicate. I know it's like, hey, we're adults. Why are you tracking our attendance? It's actually a requirement from the province. We have to. And it's for your benefit as well. Naturally, some people are just isolators. They don't, even are conscious sometimes that they're isolating themselves. So this is just a way that we keep track. If you haven't messaged me and I've noticed that you haven't been there, then I will reach out to you. And from that point forward, you kind of have to start providing doctor's notes. So we don't want to get to that point. This is just like, a little bit of an informal way of doing it, although we are tracking your attendance. And you do have to show up for lecture every morning at 9 o'clock. That counts for Calgary as well. You have to be in the space at 9 a.m. And why do we do this? The biggest reason is to bring you guys in for 9 a.m. That is proven to be the best time to bring you guys together, to get your brains started. And it also starts providing you guys with a chance to train your work ethic. Showing up on time is huge for your new jobs, right? It also, I find, aids to community. If one person is showing up here, but the rest of the cohort is sleeping at home, that person's going to feel really, really left out. Their learning is going to be hindered as well. So if you guys all come together, your brain power is all here together, your community is strength, it'll help push you forward. It'll help push your cohort forward. Cool? So we definitely are watching for attendance. All right, so now I've said work really hard and put in the hours. Now I'm saying take breaks and get proper sleep. How are we going to juggle this? This is what the first 2 weeks are about. It's about learning this process. So as hard work counts as something, being able to moderate that hard work is a skill in itself, and it's something that needs to be learned as well. Taking breaks is huge. What are some methods that you guys use to kind of just, your brain stopped, you have been going at a problem for 45 minutes, your brain is just dead? What are some good strategies to switch things up a bit? What do you guys use? Go outside. Amazing. Fresh air is huge. Gets that brain moving again, especially if you're like sitting at this posture for a while. Just the fact that you straightened up your spine to go outside is probably going to help a lot as well. And exercise, stretching as well goes a huge way. In both locations, in the Edison building and here, you guys have access to a gym, which is pretty huge. This will take some time in Vancouver anyways to get access to your fob. We'll be handing out your fobs later this afternoon and some forms alongside it. So it takes about a week, sometimes 2 weeks to get attached to your fob, but I highly suggest using it. It's up on the 16th. I obviously don't use it, but it's up there for your benefit for that. But also just go for a walk. I love going for walks with students, so if you just want to go and chat. I actually was a developer in the industry for 3 years as well, so if you just want to pick my brain, just go for a walk. I'm happy to do that. We'll make some time to make that happen, or grab your neighbor, go and grab a Costco hot dog. That seems to be a really big theme in Vancouver anyways, for our students. I don't know if the Costco hot dogs are necessarily the healthiest thing, but maybe the walk there with the fresh air is a good way to kind of switch things up when your brain is a bit dead. Any other techniques that we use? Yeah? Tea. Awesome. Yeah. Nice. Yeah, there's something just soothing about tea, right? Just, I think anything that switches up, going to the kitchen. So tea was a suggestion, making a tea. If you haven't already had 5 cups of coffee in a day, maybe another cup of coffee would be good as well. Yeah, doing those things that, your own personal ritual that you can connect to. And, uh, and definitely making sure you're going home and to get a good night's rest. Oh, okay. Sorry, guys, just got a message from Calgary. Okay, so we lost them. I'm going to start the 5 rules again. Sorry, guys. Okay. Calgary, can you hear me? Give me a thumbs up in the channel if you can hear me, Calgary. Okay, sweet. All right, so we're going to start from the 5 rules again. Yay, this is good. They're going to be ingrained in your head now. They're very, very important. So, nice. Lots of thumbs up. I love it. Okay, so number 1. What was number 1, Vancouver? It's up on the board. Ask for help. Amazing. So, this is really, really important. Asking for help is probably the number 1 resource that you guys have with this course. Our mentors are here to help you answer your questions. We find a lot of students, we're very strong in high school, very strong in university. They might not have needed to go out of their way to ask for help, but definitely in this course, with this amount of information being presented to you, you need to go out of your way to ask for help. So don't be afraid to ask for help. It is only to your benefit. You're not proving anything to yourself by trying to do it yourself and figuring it out in 4 hours when you could have gotten help and figured it out in 15 to 30 minutes. With that being said, definitely try things out on your own for a little bit. We usually say about 15 minutes. Problem solving at first is a good kind of time frame before you go ask for help. All right, number 2 is putting in the hours. We have mentorship from 9 a.m. until 9 p.m. at night. We do expect you guys to be in the space, especially in the first couple of weeks, for that time, gaining as much mentorship as you can. In the second half of the course, you might find that you can go home in the evenings a little bit earlier to work on some things there. But if you want to work out of the space, there's 24-hour access in both spaces, so utilize it as much as possible. Coming in for lecture is mandatory in both areas. So Calgary, even though we stream into you and we send you guys the link, you guys have to show up in Edison. You have to show up in the space. We want you to start developing really good work ethic, making good habits, and this is going to get you primed for when you start your first jobs, and showing up at 9 in the morning is very crucial at that point as well. We also find that it really helps with community. The more people that show up together at 9 a.m., the stronger the cohort, the stronger the learning power, more brains, obviously, the better. There is time on weekends as well, so make sure that you are prepared for that. I say it's a full-time job and a bit of a part-time job as well. So no vacations. If you have partners and families, just say bye to them now. You're not going to see them for about 10 weeks. Just kidding. Definitely family time is just as important. And making sure that you talk to your kids if you have any, very important as well. All right, so this email will be pinned to your Slack channel later on. When I say pinned to your Slack channel, it'll be at the top underneath your cohort channel name. There's a little pin, and we pin important messages there. So this email will be there. Attendance is mandatory, so you guys need to let us know when things come up. Obviously, things come up. You need to let us know with as much advance notice as possible. Unexcused absences, obviously, we'll contact you, and after even 1, we'll start asking for doctor's notes from that. So keep that in mind. Okay, so as I mentioned, you got to put in the long hours, but you also have to take breaks and get proper sleep. Obviously, we do not want to drive you guys to insanity. Burnout is very real as well. So this is how we try to prepare ourselves from suffering from burnout. So some suggestions that were brought to the floor in Vancouver were we're going for walks, getting fresh air, doing some rituals like getting a tea, things like that. We also have gyms in both locations, so utilizing those gyms just to get some exercise, get that blood flowing. And making sure that you're getting a proper night's sleep. You're going to go home and you're going to have these really like boring coding dreams where you're just going to be staring at JavaScript in your dream. Just make sure that you're not staying up all night long trying to problem solve, that you do give yourself ample time to rest. There will definitely be hours of the day where you can problem solve. So get ready for those coding dreams. They're on their way. All right, so this is the most important rule. Can anybody tell me what imposter syndrome is? Imposter syndrome. Yeah, Kira? Yeah, absolutely. That's great. So, and we got some responses in Calgary. Excited to hear what you have to say. Yes, good. When you feel you don't belong, thinking that you are not good enough, when you feel that you don't deserve something because you haven't earned it. Specifically, all of these things, and you're comparing yourself to the people around you to make that happen, okay? Imposter syndrome is real. It is a real thing, and it is full blown in our course. Like I mentioned, our course is not so traditional, and in the first couple of weeks, vulnerability comes up. You might have been the top dog in other things, and here you might not be that top dog, and learning to deal with those emotions is not easy. So this is another kind of point in time where we're learning to be comfortable being uncomfortable. Time used trying to compare yourself to others is time that you could be learning, right? Don't get me wrong, it's going to happen. It's very natural for humans to compare. We're not saying don't suffer from imposter syndrome. We're just saying when it happens, be aware of it and be aware that I have a lot of experience moving people through imposter syndrome. So reach out as soon as you think that it's happening. And it could happen as early as day one. You guys are going to find that a lot of people in your course are at different levels than you. They're moving through these exercises at a different speed than you. That's great. Having people better than you around the space is a positive thing. And it's not necessarily better. It doesn't kind of dictate any form of success in the long run. I've had people suffer from full-blown imposter syndrome within the first 2 weeks and are killing it in the industry right now. So working through that is just an obstacle. It's not an indicator of success in the long run. So the first sign of it, reach out to me. We're going to move you through it. We're going to work through it even in Calgary. Talk to Kat, talk to me over Slack. We can do some screen chats as well. Here in Vancouver, I'd love to go for walks with you if you're experiencing it as well. And to tell you the truth, guys, I've taken this boot camp as well 3 years ago. I've been in the industry. I still suffer from imposter syndrome once in a while when I get a new technology. And I'm like, oh crap, now I've got to do all this relearning once again. But that's what problem solving is. This is not the typical job where you're going to get a list of instructions and you're going to get a list of what your day kind of looks like, and then you regurgitate that information or you regurgitate that task over and over and over again. You guys are here to learn how to be problem solvers. That is not easy for a lot of people. The problem solving journey is very scary. What problem solving means was that I don't know the answer. I start in that vulnerable place of not knowing, and I go to a place of knowing. That is an intimidating process for many, many people. So our bootcamp is more trying to teach you how to become comfortable with that. We're not trying to get you to be masters of JavaScript, masters of Ruby, Ruby on Rails, masters of Node. That's not going to happen. UBC, SFU, University of Alberta, they graduate crappy coders, okay? Being a junior developer is a crappy coder. Being a senior developer is when you're, that better coder. So keep that in mind, that you're coming to a place where you're able to work with the tools, but it's still a learning curve from there. So there's lots of learning. And what I find is that at the end of week 1, a lot of students are like, oh, why can't I build this Plenty of Fish app and make billions of dollars by next week? And I'm like, dude, it's week 1, day 5. You probably won't be able to do that even when you graduate the course. So keep that in mind, that we have a lot of big expectations and that this course is going to be a lot of information thrown at you. Just go with the flow. Keeping up with the pace of the bootcamp is probably the biggest hurdle and the best thing that will get you ready to be a junior developer. So I've got a message from Calgary coming in, probably saying my microphone's too loud or not loud enough. Nope, it's gone. Okay, cool. Any questions about imposter syndrome? When we first start to feel it, what are we going to do? Come and talk to me, right? I'm not so scary. Okay, microphone is a good level. Great, awesome. Sometimes I'm a little bit deaf and shout into the microphone. All right, we'll see what's going on. Okay, rule number 5, you're going to hear this a lot. You're going to get frustrated with this rule. You're going to get mad at us for creating a curriculum as crazy as this. But this is your best friend in the end. Being a problem solver means being comfortable, being uncomfortable. I talk to senior developers a lot about their experience in the industry, and my favorite quote is from actually one of my mentors when I took this course. They work in DevHub as well right now, and their famous line is, "I've worked in this industry long enough to know that we are all imposters." So that's coming from a senior developer. Why do we say things like that? Why does a senior developer say something like that? It's because this industry is forever changing and it's quickly changing, quickly evolving. So being a senior developer is also learning new technologies, being that front runner in solving these problems, being that first person that solves these problems. You might get a tech stack or a problem that is the first time a developer in the world has seen this problem, and you are going to have to be the one that kind of like sets the bar for the industry, putting your questions and your answers onto Stack Overflow, letting the other community know what you've kind of discovered. So that is not easy. Like I said, it's very uncomfortable, and your job in the first couple of weeks is at least getting comfortable with the first stages of problem solving. All right, so we are going to go over the 5 rules of success again. Number 1, asking for help, putting in the hours, taking breaks and getting proper sleep, don't compare yourself to others, and be comfortable being uncomfortable. All right, so our philosophies and our approach. This is not a traditional form of schooling, and you'll find that our approach is different, so your approach has to be a little bit different as well. So one of the biggest things that can help you, I should say, mindsets that you can take to help you move forward in this course is taking a growth mindset over a fixed mindset. So who can quickly tell me a little blurb of what's the difference between a growth mindset and a fixed mindset? Any ideas? Yep.
Fixed mindset is like locked in place. There's no room for any sort of new stretch of scope or any new inputs.
Growth, yeah. Yeah, great. So that was great. So fixed mindset is exactly what it sounds. You're like fixed on ideas. There's kind of like no room to improve. I kind of judge myself based off of the skills that were given to me, not necessarily the ones that I can develop. Whereas growth mindset is a little bit different, where I believe that I can come into something, that I can start from ground zero and move into something. So this kind of is very evident. I notice when you talk about those children that are just born naturally into something. So, they started playing piano when they were 4 years old, 5 years old. So I'm, 16 years old. I didn't start when I was 4. I I'm never going to have that because I was not born with those abilities. Even though it's very plausible that you can teach yourself how to play piano at that age, given the time, given the practice, given the right mindset. Same with languages. We hear a lot like, oh, kids learn languages so fast. And that's actually a lie. It takes like a child 8 to 9 years before they first start to even understand proper grammar. So it takes children very, very long time to learn languages, whereas an adult can learn structure and rules very, very fast. And given the right mindset, given the time frame, and it's usually just bandwidth, it's usually just time. That is the hindrance, not necessarily the fact that a child is younger and picks things up easier. They're just observant. They're just actually putting in the time to learn those things, right? Great. So here are some kind of like sayings that are the difference between fixed and growth mindset. So we've got fixed being I'm either good at it or I'm not. Opposite would be I can learn anything I want to. When I'm frustrated, I give up. When I'm frustrated, I persevere. I don't like to be challenged. I want to challenge myself. When I fail, I'm no good. When I fail, I learn. If you succeed, I feel threatened. If you succeed, I am inspired. Yay, inspiration. Any questions about that? Great. So I'm kind of going to oh, there was some more. My abilities determine everything, and my effort and attitude determine everything. Great. So I've got a couple of extra rules that I'm going to add. So it's 5 rules of success and a couple more. So don't be afraid to experiment. I think this is huge as well. That a lot of beginner coders kind of freeze up at their computer. They hold back and they try to digest information in their head. They try to come up with the solution in their head. I would say try something, try something, try something, try something. Keep those fingers moving. Keep the docs kind of flowing on the internet. Keep exposing yourself to different attempts over and over again. The second that you freeze up at the computer and trying to kind of solve the problem in your head only, then you're almost suffering for a shock. You're postponing that problem-solving journey as well. So just keep trying, keep trying, keep trying. You'll kind of learn different forms of experimentation. You can do it through the browser. You can do it through console logging. You'll come into different forms of experimentation, and eventually you'll kind of discover your own platforms and your own style in coding as well. So another rule is, I'm going to hold that. So digesting all this information. Our curriculum works very much through exposure. You're going to get exposed to concepts throughout our course. And the very first time you get exposed does not mean that you need to master that concept at that point in time. Keep in mind that, it might take you a certain amount of time to finish that exercise with that concept. The next time you get exposed to it, hopefully it, at least doubles in time. The next time you get exposed, doubles, continues like that. And eventually, maybe even on the job is when you first start to realize, okay, now I really have this tool under my belt and I can drive with it. So that first time you get it does not mean that you have to master that concept right away. So digesting all this information is a big skill in itself. You're going to get thrown so much information, and the docs on the internet are created by senior developers most of the time. They don't necessarily target this type of audience. So it's going to be a lot of information on the internet that you have to digest. That's a skill in itself that you'll have to learn, is how to filter out all that information to really pinpoint what you're looking for as well. So keep in mind that information will be overwhelming. be comfortable with that uncomfortable feeling and learn techniques on how to digest that information to pinpoint exactly what you guys are looking for. Cool. So this slide is software development is a team sport. So a lot of people kind of are romanced by the idea of, hey, I can just sit at my computer all day long and not talk to anybody, kind of like an antisocial job. I would say it's complete opposite. So the teamwork involved, the communication involved is really, really huge. This industry is designed in a really nice way that, computer science grads, bootcamp grads, self-coders all start at a junior developer level and then climb the ladder from intermediate to senior developer. So there's always this kind of relationship of mentors and juniors learning. And so that learning is always there. It's always assumed by the seniors that it's part of the journey. So it's a team sport that you got to work with your seniors, you got to work with your juniors to kind of move up your understanding and continue to learn while this industry expands as well. It's a very highly opinionated industry as well, so learning how to decipher those opinions and working with your team to come to those industry standards is more of the team sport. So you're going to be given pair programming partners that I'll be going into soon. And also midterms and your finals are going to be a really good indication of what working as a junior developer actually means on the job. It's not so isolating like you might assume. Even as a freelancer, even when you're doing remote work, you're still tuning into team meetings and working with teams. You almost need to over communicate when you're working on your own because of how much social engagement actually takes to get a project up and running and to maintain a project, things like that. So bootcamp is a 6 to 12 month journey. What might we mean by that? So it's like 10 weeks, you're like, yeah, I want in and out really fast. And now we're saying that actually it's 6 to 12 months. And I would say that it's a lifetime journey, to tell you the truth. What do we mean by that? Constantly learning. Like I mentioned, this is a very fast evolving industry. When I took the bootcamp about 4 years ago, I actually took the curriculum in Ruby on Rails. And we've got some answers from Calgary. You never stop learning, exactly. It takes that long to solidify the basics, absolutely. Continuous learning, exactly. So when I took this bootcamp, I took it in Ruby. It was predominantly Ruby on Rails. Ruby on Rails was a very trending framework and language at that time. And then my first job was even, hey, now we want you to turn this app to make it communicate with the React front end. I was like, okay, great. And this is like one of the first times this was happening. React was very, very new. Then by the time my internship was done, React was the dominating language in the industry. So it moves fast. And then Lighthouse, we move fast with this industry as well. We changed our curriculum to keep up with this industry. And that's just a sentiment into what you guys will have to do with your job as well. When you graduate, you're not going to be masters in this trade. It's almost the start of your apprenticeship. So that's where you start learning your apprenticeship. You've been given the tools, but then you start learning how to really make them your own. Develop a coding style that's your own. Learning some quicker ways to experiment because you're more comfortable with those ways over maybe something that you've been working on for so long. So the journey doesn't stop when bootcamp ends. It almost begins then. And that's really, really exciting as well, that there's a lot of understanding in this industry that your learning is always continuous. So developing means to keep up with this continuous learning will be something that should be on your radar as well when you graduate and you're on the job, going to different meetups, different blog posts. All of those resources are going to help you keep up with this ever-changing industry. So as I mentioned, this is a craft. It's more of an apprenticeship. So I like to kind of relate it to maybe a construction job because we've got some construction over there. So you guys are the builders right now as coders. You're learning how to be the builders in the industry. And as the builders, you might not need to know the whole big picture right at first. There are people working on those big pictures. You're now working on the tasks at hand, trying to really understand the tools that you've been given with. So for instance, a bricklayer doesn't need to know how the brick was made to be able to lay the brick down. So keep that in mind when you're kind of lost in the philosophy of computer science. It is very, very big. There's so much to learn. Don't get too lost in that philosophy. Try to see what your task at hand is to meet your deadlines that way, instead of like, oh, I don't understand concepts on a greater level. That will come in time. And keep in mind that even computer science grads need practical experience to really, really understand that. So you're going to hear about our model, our bootcamp model, and specifically the flipped classroom model. It's very hands-on, it's very practical experience. We're noticing, finding a trend that even a lot of computer science grads are coming to us because of how practically focused we are. You come out with a portfolio, you come out with interview practice skills, and you come with those soft skills that computer science grads are looking for. You also have direct experience in the languages that are most popular in the industry right now. A lot of computer science theory is based off of languages that you might not be getting jobs in. So they also have to relearn how JavaScript is used today in the industry, things like that. So maybe the most frustrating part about the flipped classroom model for you is that we might ask you one day in an assignment or a quiz about a concept that we haven't presented to you in a lecture before, or we haven't presented this concept to you first, and we're asking you to work with it right away. This is to create a problem-solving opportunity for you guys, almost to see what it's like to not have that concept, to work through it, an opportunity for you to reach out to a mentor to gain some insight as well. And keep in mind that most likely it will come in the next couple of days in a lecture, or knowing that a mentor will come by and provide some more information in that gray area. But that might be a little bit of frustrating for you guys at first. And that's, once again, another opportunity for you guys to become comfortable being uncomfortable, to research a little bit more on the internet, except instead of being just handed that kind of information to you so that you quickly skim it. It doesn't really digest that way. This kind of like, since we don't have the luxury of time to create these problem-solving opportunities for you, is in your best interest. And if you kind of go into shock, remember that I'm here if you're developing imposter syndrome, but move through that, try something out. Get your fingers on that keyboard, try something out, console log something. Okay, just try to understand what data you're working with, move forward, and ask for help. That's going to help push you through and get you comfortable being uncomfortable. Any questions about our flipped classroom model in comparison to what you might be used to? Nice. All right, so we're going to take a 10-minute break. We're going to split you guys up into two groups and do a little bit of a tour here. I don't know if you guys in Calgary have done your space tour, but you've got time to do it now, or just take a little bit of a 10-minute break, and then we'll come back together. Thank you. All right, so you guys are one group, you guys are one group, and we're going to grab a couple of staff members. They're going to take you guys All right, we are going to get started again. Calgary, give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. Calgary. Calgary? Yay, they can hear me. All right. Guys all set? Okay, we are good to go. All right, so now that we're familiar with the space, we're going to go through a typical day. What is it going to look like for you guys? And they're sending hilarious GIFs. I am a huge fan of GIFs, so do not hesitate to send the funniest of GIFs. The more GIFs I get in a day, the happier I am. Cool. So, typical day. You're going to have your lectures every morning at 9 a.m. They are technically only an hour and a half, but our instructors are love to talk. So most likely they're going to go over just over 11, maybe just under 11. So keep that in mind. And that's the only difference for the satellites, is that they'll be streaming into lecture into here. Other than that, they get mentorship. They have their own set of mentors in Calgary, just like you guys do over here. So just a reminder again that it is mandatory to show up to every lecture. This is true for week 1, just like it's true for week 9 as well. So even in week 9, for our advanced lectures, you're still expected to show up every morning before 9 o'clock. And if otherwise you've got an excuse, make sure that you let us know with that email that's pinned to your Slack channel. And yes, Calgary, that means 10 a.m. for you guys because of the time difference. So there in Vancouver is no mentorship between 11 and 12, but because of the time difference in Calgary, your mentorship starts right away when lecture is finished. So from 12 in the morning until, well, 12 p.m., I guess, till 9 p.m., you have mentorship all day. And this ratio is 1:7. And keeping in mind that during the day, there's a lot more students in the space. So this ratio changes as students leave. So in the evenings, for instance, on Friday evenings, from 6 until 9 p.m., there is no mentorship. No mentorship from Friday evenings from 9 p.m. But there is, like I mentioned, a Saturday shift, and sometimes for like midterms or finals, we'll add an extra shift on Sunday as well. We also have breakouts. So for your first 7 weeks of the course, you have breakouts. It is an afternoon lecture from 3 p.m. till 4 p.m. in Vancouver and 4 p.m. until 5 p.m. in Calgary, where you are kind of touching on some concepts of that day, maybe going a little bit further in depth from the concept in the morning, and they only happen on Mondays and Tuesdays. With that being said, we encourage impromptu breakouts as well. So let's just say 5 of you have the same exact question on objects. Call a mentor and say, hey, instead of going around to all 5 of us, maybe can we just go to the whiteboard right now? And they might be able to do, 20 minutes of an explanation to all 5 of you as well. So feel free to ask for those. That will all obviously be dependent on the mentor's availability and, if they're able to present that information to you. Anything else with that? Yeah, great. All right, so this is the typical day except for weeks 5 and 10. So all of you guys have been told about our remote weeks. And I want to put a disclaimer now that it is not like a reading week in university. Don't come and ask me if you can go take a vacation during this week. You absolutely can't. My response will always be no. The only kind of forms of excuse I'll accept is that you have job interviews, okay? So job interviews is the only way that you'll be able to be absent from things like this. And even so, we'll just probably try to schedule around it, not necessarily that you're unable to participate in those things. So the very first day of week 5 will be when you guys present your midterms, like we're doing today to you guys. So that day is very important to be in the space as well. There's also a career services workshop that day. So as we say, it's remote. There's a lot happening. Still just in your mind, think that you've got to be present. You can work out of our space in other areas, but mentorship is reserved for the other 2 cohorts at that point in time. With that being said, if you do have any, need some more support, just talk to me, and we'll definitely work something out to get you through that week as well. Week 5 is more of a computer science week, so it's more theory. The workload is not as intense, but it's really important to get all your work done by the Friday so that you can have the whole weekend to prep for React week. The whole weekend will be React prep work, and that's really, really crucial in preparing you so you can move smoothly right into the React week. The first half of the course is going to be a lot of fundamentals, getting you up to speed with coding, getting you familiar with tools. The second half of the course will then start also more of a career services kind of momentum as well. So with that in mind, you'll still be touching in on some career services in the first half of the course, but the second half of the course is when we'll really start to focus on your job hunt as well. Put up your hand if you're a job seeker. I think that's everybody. I love it. Yay. Good. So job seeking should always be on your mind, preparing yourself for job seeking. In the first half of the course, the technical interviews that we give you are going to be a little bit more verbal, more sitting down at a table, talking about things. And then the second half of the course will be a lot more whiteboarding, so more technical interviews that you might face in the industry. So as I mentioned before, pair programming partners will be this week. Pair programming happens on the job as well. So what pair programming is you'll be assigned these partners for this week. They'll be different every day. And you'll sit beside your partners, either one partner or 2 partners. One person will take the steering wheel, so they'll be driving with their keyboard on the code. And the other person or the other people will be verbally kind of making contributions that way. So one person driving with the keyboard, one person driving verbally, and then every 30 to 40 minutes, you swap roles. This really helps with the fundamentals. A lot of times in your internships and your jobs, you'll be pair programming as well. So it's a way to speed up your learning curve as well. 2 brains are better than 1. One person gets used to the coding while the other person can use their mind a little bit more problem solving and kind of pseudocoding with their words. We will assign this for week 1. After that, they won't be assigned, but we very much encourage partnerships in programming moving forward. All right, Slack is a really important tool. A lot of the ways that I will contact you will be through Slack. So it just makes, things a lot easier if we want to have a chat, but we don't want everybody knowing that we're having a chat. It's just easier to communicate through Slack. So why I say that? Just so that you guys are always monitoring it, you guys are always using it. Please don't hesitate to reach out to Calgary, like I mentioned. Calgary, don't hesitate to reach out to the Vancouver channel. Our mentors are only required to help you on the floor, but you'll find that a lot of them are available on Slack. And even just posting your question into the cohort channel, if you're patient with a little bit of a time delay, you might even get a response from one of our mentors who might even be on vacation because they are so enthusiastic about helping you guys that they're watching these Slack channels all the time. So it's not a requirement, so when that does happen, make sure that you thank them for it. But our mentors are so great that we try to keep Slack lively like that. So don't hesitate to post your questions on the cohort channel as well, and who knows, maybe another student can answer the question as well. Community peer support is also a huge resource. You guys are paying not only for mentorship, but also for our community. Lighthouse community is very strong, and we're spanning across the country, so Slack is a huge way that everybody in this community communicates. So make sure that you are a avid user of Slack, don't hesitate to reach out. If you do graduate our course, we'll move you from the student Slack channel to the alumni Slack channel. And there is an avid amount of resources over the country. Job postings are there. And, you know, when you're working on your new projects outside of this course, you can always post there for more resources as well. All right, so here is my Slack handle and Remy's Slack handle. Kelly's is @Kelly. And don't hesitate to reach out to us if you have any questions. So, navigating Compass. You guys are all familiar with your prep work. In the course, you'll still work through it the day by day, just as you would in prep work. The biggest difference is now when you have a question, you have an assistance request button at the top. You're going to hit that, and then the mentors will get notification in their queue about you on the list. We also have the queue up on the TV screen here as well, so that mentors can be a little bit more visible with it. We try to suggest a 15-minute rule with your interactions and also your problem solving. So first attempt your problem for 15 minutes on your own or with a partner. Then from there, hit the button. When your mentor comes, that assistance should probably only take about 15 minutes. There should be enough guidance to help move you forward. Then you can always hit the button when you run into another obstacle moving forward from there. So 15-minute rule for both. Obviously, that's not set in stone. And if the queue is not busy at all and you just want to pick the mentor's brain a little bit longer, feel free. Keep those mentors busy. But if there is a full queue, people are waiting for assistances, try to limit it to 15 minutes to get some good direction, to then try some things on your own again. I like to give a little bit of a disclaimer here as well, that when you're working with a mentor, try to use them to direct your learning where you need it to go. Things like asking for an answer or asking for the final answer are really, for that moment in time can provide you with that knowledge, but it takes away from that problem-solving journey that we're really trying to click on into your heads. So that urge to just look at the answer, copy and paste, hard-code it into your code, try to resist that and try to really open up these problem-solving opportunities that our curriculum is really designed to help move you through and help get you comfortable feeling uncomfortable. Your assistance also, when it ends, has the opportunity to provide our mentors with feedback. This is really crucial for my job. I really work with you guys and your feedback to determine how to best move forward, course correct our mentors, retrain our mentors. All that feedback is so valuable. I absolutely love it. We're going to run a town hall in week 3 as well, where you guys will all have the chance to present your feedback verbally. I love the juicy, feedback on these mentors, everything about them. I want to hear from you guys. We also are a very feedback heavy company, so you're going to get opportunities for feedback many times. So not only with your assistances, but also through every activity. Also at the end of the day, just your general mood, you'll be able to give feedback on. That end of day feedback is also very important, and it comes to Kelly and I, and we're going to respond to it. We take that feedback to heart, especially in that first 4 weeks, to really see how you guys are doing and understanding your progress moving forward so that we can get you set up for success. Okay, so this is an open and friendly culture. Culture is very, very huge in 2019, and it's of the utmost importance for Lighthouse. Lighthouse community is diversity and inclusion. We try to focus on making a safe space for everybody. We understand that in 2019, that might not be so easy to understand for everybody, so we're not saying that we're experts in any sort of realm, but we want to work with you to discover what that is. And we can work with any situation, so don't hesitate. If you feel uncomfortable, or if you've noticed that somebody else in your cohort might be uncomfortable as well, don't hesitate to reach out, and we're going to help you navigate it. We're going to navigate as well to come to a solution and to find out what is best for that situation. We have a zero tolerance policy. You guys all read that code of conduct. I want you to reread it by the end of today. So you read it once, you probably, too long, didn't read, just skimmed through it. I want you to really read it, take a look, and if you have any questions, just come to me and we'll work them out. And that's just a repeat slide. All right, thank you very much. Here's some info for Vancouver. Kat will have the Calgary info over there. And Calgary, you are off to, no, we've got Career Services streaming in as well. So Hillary is going to come on up. You're not off to the races yet. And just give us a couple minutes to switch this over. Thanks, guys. All right.
Hello, hello. With Calgary. Okay, good morning, guys. Don't want to make this any longer than it has to be, but really just wanted to be able to touch base with you guys as Career Services really gets started in the middle of boot camp, but want to really, like, if you have any pressing questions, that kind of stuff, just touch base. So we're just going to play a little fun quiz, but I just wanted to walk through a little bit about Career Services before we do so. So you guys met or saw this morning your Career Services team. So yeah, keep your eyes out for us. So Leanne's over here, Char's over there. And obviously I'm Hillary. So great to meet you guys. We're really excited to work with you going forward. We have a full house of job seekers, which is really exciting. Okay, so what is Career Services? Obviously we are, our whole boot camp is completely curated towards you guys being able to become junior developers, and we're really just an extension of that. The education curriculum that you guys have is tailored to make you great developers. So keep that in mind in your first few weeks going through the program. As you're doing projects, all of that kind of stuff, this is not I guess maybe a lot of you in your degree might have had a different idea of education, but our whole idea is all of the projects that you're doing, all of the things that we are assigning you are really on purpose so that they are building your resume, they're making you great developers, and they're giving you a certain kind of mindset. So keep in mind as you're going through the projects, it's not just to hand them in, it's to show off on your resume, all that kind of stuff. So just keep that in mind going through the first few weeks, and then we'll touch base again in week 4 to talk about the specifics of how we kind of extend that. So Career Services adds to that knowledge and that education base by providing you with tools, some industry knowledge, and resources to become hireable. Awesome. So what to expect? We're going to work more closely with you in week 4. So, we're going to be a lot more hands-off the first few weeks. But with that said, if you have pressing questions, if you just want to chat, we're here. Obviously, our desks are over there, and we're more than happy to chat with you guys. So every week, starting in week 4, you'll have a Career Services breakout. So once you get to that week 4, just keep in mind that we want you to be thinking for at least an hour a week a little bit about your career and about preparing yourself to be a developer. So while that goes along with your education, just keep in mind that we want to be, excited to spend that hour or 2 a week working on those soft skills and those things that you need above and beyond from your technical expertise to get into the field. So And super importantly, make sure you review your job seekers agreement. It's insanely important. It's not magic, but there's a reason that we have those impressive stats that I'm sure you all read on the website about our students getting hired. So really, it's really, really, really important to stick to that job seekers agreement. So we are doing for you what we can, and you are also putting in that effort. The magic in career services comes from us working together as best as possible. So keep that in mind, and please reread it. I know you had a lot of contracts, a lot of stuff to read through. I totally understand. But as you're nearing that intro to career services presentation down the line, make sure you are caught up on that. Okay, so in terms of timeline, so these are kind of the breakouts that you're going to have for career services down the line. So in week 4, you're just going to have an intro to career services. That's all about how we're going to work together, a little bit about the industry, the companies we work with, just so that you guys can have a really good idea. Week 5 is going to be all about resumes. So you'll have your resume workshop. Davey mentioned that you have a workshop after your midterm demos. So that will be your resume workshop. And week 5 is going to be focused on resume building. So that's probably going to be a little bit more than the 1 hour that week, but it's also, you have a little bit less of your curriculum work. It's a little bit reduced. And so you'll have that time to work on your resume then. Week 6, so we'll run a peer evaluation on your resumes, and also I'm going to give you a bunch of feedback on your resumes. So you'll be refining that, and you'll also have the possibility of having office hours, so it's totally up to you guys. You can sit down with the career services team. We can chat about your specific interests. You know, if you're traveling soon, we can work around that. So office hours will be week 6. And yeah, just working on your resume a bunch. Week 7 will be focused on interviews, so we'll give you an interview workshop, some practice in the interview workshop, but week 8 is really the time to practice those interview skills. So we have our 2 employer events, and week 8 is our first one, so that will be employer speed interviewing. Like we said, it's all about practice though. We bring in a few other stations. So for example, right now, we're partnered with SFU HR department. So they come in, do some mock interviews, give you on the spot feedback so you can really refine those soft skills and be ready for those interviews and really, really confident. Week 9. So week 9 is a little bit of a quieter week because you guys are super focused on your final projects and getting those ready. But we will try to get together like a little social, maybe with DevHub, maybe an office tour, something like that to give you that foot into the community around you in Vancouver. And week 10 is your employer only demo day. So you guys will have demo day showing off your projects. And right before that, you'll present to an audience of employers. And then your last day of boot camp is actually your job search kickoff day. So it's just all going to be about how do you actually job seek, how are we going to work together, and what does career services look like after boot camp. Any questions? I'll watch the Calgary channel too. Okay, cool. No questions is good. So we're going to play a fun, super fun live game. So all you guys have to do is, if you have a phone, just go to menti.com. Calgary, please play too. So if you go to menti.com, it's on the screen now as well. Just plug in the code out on the screen. So the code is 88331. And give the first slide a thumbs up when you are in. Awesome. We're getting there. Okay, not bad. Is anyone having issues? Everyone okay? Does anyone need another minute? Because we should have about 30 of you. Okay. Okay, I think we've got everyone. So I'm just going to ask you a couple questions that you should know from your job seekers agreement. So if you don't know, this is the time to go review it, or, you know, kind of a wake-up call that you should go review it. Like I said, super important document, but we know that paper is not so fun. So here we go. All right. Hopefully everyone put in your name. So let's start question 1. Nice. Wow, you guys are great. So yeah, what best describes how career services works with you? We definitely, unfortunately, can't completely make it rain job offers. We can't guarantee that our employers have to hire. What we really do is connect you guys and get you guys in the community. But you have to put in your effort as well. So yeah, we do work together to help you secure that first dev job. It's really a team effort, like I said. And it's very not true that we only prepare you through boot camp and then set you free. That's definitely, honestly, just a start for us. And that's really when you're kicking off your career search. So week 10 is just the beginning. Good job, everybody. Okay, question 2. Nice. All right, close. So yes, it is definitely normal for it to take 3 to 4 months to secure that first dev job after graduating from boot camp. Unfortunately, we cannot basically guarantee a job within 120 days. Yes, our stats are really high, but why that is untrue is, again, it's a team effort. So if you are putting in that work, that's only going to shorten your timeline, but we cannot guarantee it. And the stat, so 50% of students secure a job they applied to directly. It's around 25%, but that is still a pretty high stat. So keep in mind that if you are not applying and going through that process yourself, first of all, you need to get those skills to be able to job seek successfully so that we can help you going forward. And that so when you are going for your 3rd and 4th job, obviously we are still here to support you for life, but it is really important to know how to job seek and have those skills. And so if you're not applying to jobs, you're missing about a quarter of the opportunities that you could have. So super important. Nice. Wow, this is a lot closer than last time. Okay, question 3. Okay, here's where we get divided. Okay, so which is not true about how we help you ease the gap from classroom to first dev job. So we do let employers know that graduates can start at an internship capacity. If you want to reread that, make sure you reread the job seekers agreement. It's all in there. But we find that this is a really great way to create positions where there might not be some available in the community. Second is send resumes out to employers that get in touch. We absolutely do that. That's a part of our process. And the third, so it's a bit of a trick question, I'm not going to lie, but the correct answer is get you interviews with employers. So we absolutely create those opportunities and might schedule you for interviews, but we always say that if you get an interview, if you get a job, that's your success, because it was your resume that they chose, and it's all about the work that you're putting in to become a good developer. It's your technical skills, it's your soft skills that landed that for you. So no, we do not get you interviews. Okay, last question. Ooh, a couple pulled ahead. Nice. Nice. So what is true about how to get in touch? Yes, definitely reach out. As much as we want to be in touch throughout your whole job seeking process, it's impossible for me to Slack every single job seeker every day. But I would love to talk to you guys pretty consistently and love to hear how you're doing. So definitely reach out. Whether you're struggling, whether you're doing amazing things, we would love to stay in touch. We definitely can't read your mind, unfortunately. I'm working on it. But yeah, just keep in mind that you're not alone in your job search, and that's what we're here for. That's our main priority. So it is very true that we do a lot of work behind the scenes, and we'll talk about that in Intro to Career Services, like sending your resume, doing those kinds of things are often like very behind the scenes, and you might not get notified of every opportunity that comes your way. But it is not true that we don't need to be in touch because of that. Awesome. Okay, so let's see who the winner is. Nice, Rocky, congrats. Are they here in Calgary? No? Okay, cool. Awesome job, guys. So basically, let's just finish our slides. So if you feel like you struggled with that, if you feel like you want to make sure your expectations are aligned, feel free to come talk to us or just read that job seekers agreement again. Both are awesome resources. The moral of the story and what we want you to guys to know right now is take your time to get through boot camp, get through the first few weeks. There's a huge learning curve for you guys, and we are totally aware of that. But know that we are here in the meantime. As you're doing projects, know that these are for your resumes. They're not just to get that passing grade. You are building your resume, you're building your portfolio as you're going through this course. That's what it's designed for. And when you reach that time of the job search, we're really in it together, and you guys have a whole team here to support you. So you are definitely the driver of your career, and those choices that you make throughout boot camp, throughout the workshops later on, will make a difference, but you are definitely not alone. And we will see you next in week 4 during Intro to Career Services. I will make sure this is tacked onto your day 1 email so you can see that schedule of what to expect in the upcoming weeks. But yeah, again, if you have any burning questions, let us know. And now we are going to move on to midterm demos in Vancouver and Calgary. You are good to go. I will bring Davey back up here, I think. But yeah, Calgary, you're good. Have a good day.